everyone. We're going to do just a really quick training today. I'm going to give you 3 tips on how to handle when your schedule gets completely derailed. If you're a mom and you're in business for yourself, you know how this works because honestly in my life, I bet you this happens at least once a week. I like to have a pretty strict schedule of how I get done, what I get done, and I like to work according to my schedule, but just based on our lives with, a whole other business that I share with Craig and 3 kids who are still living under our roof, something happens pretty much every single week that will just derail my schedule. So last week what happened was I knew that I was going to have a couple of days where I wasn't going to be working. It was my birthday last Friday. We had some family stuff going on. My oldest son in a basketball tournament. I had promised my daughter and a friend I was going to take them Christmas shopping. We were meeting my parents one day for lunch. So I knew that that was happening, and this was in a week where I launched my Fulfilled podcast. So tons of work for me to do. I'm getting to know the whole process myself. So it's a whole learning experience. Oh gosh, sorry about the light there. Anyways, Tuesday, Wednesday, those were going to be my days where I could completely catch up. I had a whole list of things that I knew I wanted to do, and I had lots of hours to be able to do it. Tuesday, I ended up having to spend a half a day at the school advocating for, it's a whole other story, something for my daughter. And all I could think of was, oh my gosh, it's been like how many days since I've had this dedicated time to get my work done. For somebody like me, that would throw me into a tailspin. That is a potentially really stressful situation. And with Christmas coming up too, it's kind of like the perfect storm of schedule derailment. So here's what I've found works really well for me. Maybe it'll work for you. The first thing that I've learned to do is just to pause for a second. And before I start to get too stressed about it or too upset, first thing I remember is why it is that I went into business for myself. I talk a lot about core values. I talk about it a lot in my podcast. My podcast interviewees often talk about that too, how important it is to know what your core values are. It's one of those exercises people talk about all the time, but nobody really wants to take the time to do. It's so important because for me, one of the biggest things that I realized is that one of my most important, probably my single most important core value is my family. I want at the end of the time that my kids are, not living under our roof anymore, I want to be able to say, I was the best mom I could possibly be, and I did everything toward that goal. And that doesn't mean that I didn't work and I didn't do other things that were important to me. It doesn't mean that I was at my children's beck and call all the time. But what it does mean, looking back, is that when I needed to, I was always able to put my kids first, and my kids always knew that I was there for them and that I had their back. Knowing that that's my biggest core value, when I get this, this decision, okay, I can either go home and do the work that I need to do, or I can go and support my daughter in a situation where she needs to have a parent there to support her. The decision for me was actually a really simple one, and I felt good about it. It didn't change the fact that there were 3 or 4 hours that I couldn't be working in my business. So here's the second thing. After you pause and you remember the fact that most of us went into business for ourselves because of our kids and to be available for our kids. The second thing you do is you reevaluate your whole to-do list. So you take a look at everything and you think, okay, how do I want to feel at the end of today? And what do I need to do? What are the most important things on my to-do list right now that will get me closest to feeling the way I want to feel? For me, what it was, I had to post a new podcast. So I knew that if I just get the new podcast episode posted into Libsyn and then get all the show notes posted on the website, if that's all I got done on Tuesday after this thing at the school, I would feel good about the day. And anything else after that just kind of became a bonus. And it was actually amazing when I was so focused on having to catch up, it became a really productive day. The third thing is not so much a specific to do, it's more of a mindset thing. I think as mothers, our lives have gotten so busy that we're trying to cram too much into them. I know that this is the case for me. I think it's probably the case for most of you. We are trying to do too much and not leave enough time. So the third thing that I would suggest for you to do is to create more buffer in your lives. Leave yourselves more time before deadlines. Know that stuff's going to come up. So again, my son and my husband are leaving for a basketball tournament tomorrow, and I'm picturing this blissful day where I'm going to be at home completely alone, and I'm going to have the entire day to just sit and work and get things checked off my to-do list. And of course, where I live in Ontario, they're calling for 15 to 30 centimeters of snow tonight, which means it'll probably be a snow day tomorrow, which means that my kids will be home and probably most of the neighborhood. And since ours is kind of the neighborhood playhouse, my house is most likely going to be full of kids. So I already know that this is coming up, and I need to already kind of readjust my mindset and be thinking about what do I most need to get done and how can I put things in place right now to make that happen. So leave yourself some buffer. It takes away a lot of stress. When you begin to say no to more things and leave yourself way more time for things, it's not such a big deal when your time blows up. So I hope that's helpful. For more information, some great free content, and of course to access the Fulfilled podcasts, go to shaunadingman.com. Or if you want the podcast, you can go to shaunadingman.com/podcast and you can join me there. So until we talk next, be encouraged, be hopeful, and don't forget, you are not in this alone. We are with you every step of the way. Have a great day.